An important part of D-Day that is not often recognised is the role of the medics and doctors that applied first aid and put the transportable wounded that could wait for definitive treatment onto the LSTs or landing ship tanks that carried them across the channel to English ports and on to hospital. At Southampton, these landing craft used the hards, specially built to avoid bottlenecks created by traffic to and from the port on D-Day. If the Allies were going to make their weight of numbers count, they had to get soldiers and supplies to the front line before the German reinforcements. Southampton was a principal port of embarkation during Operation Neptune, with 4 hards that have now almost completely gone. The hard shown in the film was at Town Quay, designated S3. Today the area is reclaimed with buildings on the hard and a modern slipway on a different alignment to the original. From the aerial photography it is possible to make out the 1944 shoreline by following Platform Canute Road, running slightly parallel inland. The reference point is the platform pub, which is clearly distinguishable, painted pink at the head of the original hard. In the film, the buildings on either side of the platform tavern are recognisable, and from the view from the ambulance leaving the hard at the end of the film is the medieval God's House Tower and entrance to the old town. Landing ship tank LST-345 coming ashore with the British wounded was laid down on the 17th of October 1942 at the Norfolk Naval Yard in the USA. She was launched on the 15th of December 1942 and sponsored by Mrs. John B. Brown. LST-345 made 56 cross-channel voyages between Britain and France in support of the Allied offensive in Europe and earned 3 battle stars for World War II service. In the film, she is commanded by Lieutenant James Delaplane of the United States Naval Reserve. On D-Day, after unloading his men in cargo, small boats tossing in the choppy sea would come alongside full of wounded. Some LSTs would spend a few days off the coast, its medics treating men and sending them back to fight before returning to England. Planners knew that treating the wounded among the first soldiers on the beaches at Normandy would be hasty and incomplete, if it was possible at all. They estimated that doctors and medics would treat and evacuate more than 7,200 on D-Day itself and another 7,800 in the following 2 days. Each LST, designed for troops, trucks and tanks, would carry more than 300 wounded soldiers. After the evacuation to England, military planners needed to transport the wounded into the interior hospitals. The British had a rolling stock of 39 hospital trains, staffed with US medical personnel. With the existing organisation, personnel and methods, officials feared these jobs could not be done in time. But they recognised this fact and threw in more resources, assembling many hospitals in the US and shipping them to England. You're not talking just about D-Day, you know, because to us that was just the beginning, said one doctor. We spent days and days and then months and months and years getting these boys back to the lines. And when one went back, here came 100 more. Another veteran said, it was hard on all of us. When you get so busy, you don't have time to step back and say, that's terrible. Listen, I mean the poor young fellows were getting killed. And we were back from the front a little bit. So we were trying to do our part, that's all. You know, we basically felt the war through them. Victory for these hospitals meant getting the soldier into a bed within a half hour after his arrival. Often working 14-hour-long shifts, doctors and nurses considered this time as their actual battle participation.